Amos chapter 1. These are the words of Amos, one of the sheep breeders of Tekoa, and the visions which he saw concerning Israel during the reign of Uzziah, king of Judah, and Jeroboam, son of Jehoash, king of Israel, 2 years before the earthquake. He said, Yahweh roars from Zion, his voice thunders from Jerusalem. The pastures of the shepherds are scorched, and the choicest farmland is dried up. Yahweh says this, because Damascus has sinned, not once but 3 times and even more, I will not relent. Because they have threshed Gilead with threshing sledges of iron, I will send fire upon the people of Hazael that shall devour the strongholds of Ben-Hadad. I will cut off the ruler from the valley of Avon, and him who holds the scepter from Beth-Eden. I shall break the protective crossbar of Damascus. Yahweh says this, because Gaza has sinned, not once but 3 times and even more, I will not relent. Because they carried a whole people into captivity to deliver them over to Edom, I will send fire upon the wall of Gaza, and it will devour her strongholds. I will cut off the ruler from Ashdod, and him that holds the scepter from Ashkelon. I will turn my hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines will perish, says Yahweh. Yahweh says this, because Tyre has sinned, not once but 3 times and even more, I will not relent. Because they delivered over to Edom a whole people and did not remember the covenant of brotherhood, I will send fire upon the walls of Tyre, and it shall devour her palaces. Yahweh says this, because Edom has sinned, not once but 3 times and even more, I will not relent. Because he pursued his brother with the sword and cast off all pity, because his anger rages forever and his wrath is always wild. I will send fire upon Teman, and it shall devour the strongholds of Bosra. Yahweh says this, because the Ammonites have sinned, not once but 3 times and even more, I will not relent. Because they have ripped open pregnant women in Gilead, that they might enlarge their border, I will set fire to the walls of Rabbah, and it shall devour her strongholds. Then there will be war cry and battle. Then storm winds will blow. Their king will go into exile, he and his princes with him, says Yahweh. Amos chapter 2. Yahweh says this, because Moab has sinned, not once but 3 times and even more, I will not relent. Because they burned to a cinder the bones of the king of Edom, I will send fire on Moab, and it shall be destroyed in the midst of the tumult, with war cries and the blast of the trumpet. I will do away with their rulers and all the princes with him, says Yahweh. Yahweh says this, because Judah has sinned, not once but 3 times and even more, I will not relent. Because they rejected the law of Yahweh and did not keep his statutes, but have been led astray by the falsehood after which their fathers walked, I will send fire upon Judah, and it will devour the fortresses of Jerusalem. Yahweh says this, because Israel has sinned, not once but 3 times and even more, I will not relent. They sell the just for money and the needy for a pair of sandals. They tread on the head of the poor and trample them upon the dust of the earth, while they silence the right of the afflicted. A man and his father go to the same woman to profane my holy name. They stretch out upon garments taken in pledge beside every altar. They take the wine of those who swindle and are drunk in the house of their God. It was I who destroyed the Amorites before them, whose height was like the height of the cedar, a people as sturdy as an oak. I destroyed their fruit above and their roots below. It was I who brought you up from the land of Egypt and led you 40 years in the wilderness to take possession of the land of the Amorites. It was I who raised up prophets among your sons and Nazarites among your young men. Is this not so, people of Israel? Says Yahweh. But you gave the Nazarites wine to drink and commanded the prophets not to prophesy. Behold, I will crush you to the ground, as a cart does when it is full of sheaves. The swift shall be unable to flee, and the strong man shall lose his strength. The warrior shall not save himself, nor the bowman stand his ground. The swift of foot shall not escape, nor the horseman save himself. Even the most stout-hearted among the warriors shall flee away naked on that day, says Yahweh. Amos chapter 3. Hear this word which Yahweh speaks against you, people of Israel, against the whole family which he brought up from the land of Egypt. Only you have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will call you to account for all your wrongdoings. Do two walk together unless they have agreed? Does a lion roar in the forest when it has no prey? Does a young lion growl in its den unless it has seized something? Does a bird get caught in a snare if the snare has not been baited? Does a tiger spring up from the ground unless it has caught something? If a trumpet sounds in a city, will the people not be frightened? If disaster strikes a city, has not Yahweh caused it? Yet Yahweh does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. If the lion roars, who will not be afraid? If Yahweh speaks, who will not prophesy? Call on the people living in the palaces of Ashur and in the palaces of Egypt. Come together against the hill of Samaria and see the many scandals and the oppression that is there. These people do not know how to do what is right, says Yahweh, storing in strongholds what they have taken through violence and extortion. Therefore, this is the word of Yahweh. The enemy shall surround the land. Your strength shall be broken down, and your strongholds plundered. Yahweh says this: as the shepherd rescues from the mouth of the lion a pair of legs or the tip of an ear, so shall some of you be saved. O Israelites of Samaria, who loll on comfortable couches and rest on pillows of Damascus, hear and accuse the nation of Jacob, says Yahweh, God of hosts. On the day that I call Israel to account for his crimes, I will punish as well as the altars of Bethel. The horns of the altar will be broken up and fall to the ground. Then I will strike the winter house and the summer house. The palaces of ivory shall be ruined, and the great house destroyed. Amos chapter 4. Listen to this word, you cows of Bashan, you women who live on the hills of Samaria, who oppress the weak and abuse the needy, who order your husbands, bring us something to drink quickly. Yahweh has sworn by His holiness, the time is coming upon you when you will be dragged away with hooks, even the last of you with fish hooks. Through the breaks in the wall you will go out, straight ahead, driven out all the way to Hermon. It is Yahweh who speaks. Come, sinners, to the sanctuary in Bethel. Go down to Gilgal and sin even more. Each morning bring your sacrifices, and the third day your tithes. Burn leavened food for thanksgiving. Proclaim in public your freewill offering. For this is what makes you happy, people of Israel, says Yahweh. Though I have made your teeth clean of food in every city, though I have made your bread in all your dwellings scarce, yet you did not return to me, says Yahweh. Though I withheld rain from you when the harvest was still 3 months away, though I sent rain upon one town and withheld it from another, though people staggered from town to town and found no water to quench their thirst, yet you never returned to me, says Yahweh. Though with blight and calamities I have stricken your garden and vineyard, though your fig and olive trees were devoured by the locusts, yet you never returned to me, says Yahweh. Though as in Egypt I sent you a plague, though I slew your young men with a sword, along with your captured horses, and nauseated you with stench from your own dead, yet you never returned to me, says Yahweh. I overthrew you. A divine punishment has happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. You were like a brand snatched from the blaze, yet you never returned to me, says Yahweh. Therefore, I will deal with you in my own way, Israel. And since I will do this to you, prepare, Israel, to meet your God. For it is He who makes the thunder and creates the winds, and makes people know why He did, who turns dawn to twilight, who strides upon the heights of the earth. Yahweh, God of hosts, is His name. Amos chapter 5. Listen to these words. This lament I pronounce over you, nation of Israel. Virgin Israel is fallen, never to rise again. With none to help her up, abandoned, she lies upon her own land. For Yahweh says this, the city that went forth to war 1,000 strong shall be left with 100, and that which went forth with 100 shall be left with 10 in Israel. For Yahweh says this to the nation of Israel, seek me that you may live, but not in Bethel, nor come to Gilgal, nor pass through Beersheba, for Gilgal shall be led into exile, and Bethel brought to nothing. Seek Yahweh that you may live, or He will rush like fire on the nation of Joseph, and no one will be at Bethel to quench the blaze. He who made the Pleiades and Orion, who turns dusk to dawn and darkens the day into night, who summons the waters of the sea and pours them out upon the earth. Yahweh is His name. He makes destruction flash forth against the strong, and brings ruin upon the fortified city. Woe to those whose decrees are bitterness, not justice, who trample on the rights. You hate him who reproves in court. You despise him who speaks the truth. Because you have trampled on the poor and extorted levies on their grain, though you have built mansions of hewn stones, you will not dwell in them. Though you have planted choice grapevines, you shall not drink of their wine. For I know the number of your crimes, and how grievous are your sins, persecuting the just, taking bribes, turning away the needy at the gates. See how the prudent keep silent at this time, for it is an evil time. Seek good and shun evil, that you may live. Then Yahweh, the God of hosts, as you have claimed, will be with you. Hate wickedness and love virtue, and let justice prevail in the courts. Perhaps Yahweh, the God of hosts, will take pity on the remnant of Joseph. Yahweh, God of hosts, thus says, in every square, wailing will be heard. In every street, cries of anguish. Farmers will be summoned to lament, and professional mourners to weep noisily. There will be lamentation in every vineyard, for I will pass through your midst, says the Lord. Woe to you who long for Yahweh's day! Why should you long for that day? It is a day of darkness, not of dawn, as if a man fled from a lion, only to run into a bear, or as if he entered his home, rested his hand against the wall, only to be bitten by a viper. The day of Yahweh will be darkness, not light, gloom without a glow of brightness. I reject your feasts. I take no pleasure when you assemble to offer me your burnt offerings. Your cereal offerings I will not accept. Your offerings of fattened beasts I will not look upon. Away with the noise of your chanting. Away with your strumming on harps. But let justice run its course like water, and righteousness be like an overflowing river. Did you, Israel, bring me offerings and sacrifices for 40 years in the wilderness? Yet now you lift up King Sikkuth and Kiyum, your idols, which you made yourselves. Therefore, I will send you into exile beyond Damascus, says Yahweh, whose name is God of hosts. Amos chapter 6. Woe to those proud people who live overconfident on the hill of Samaria. Woe to you, men of renown, from the first among the nations, to whom the people of Israel come. Pass through Calne and see. From there go to Hamath the Great, then go down to Gath of the Philistines. Are you better than these kingdoms were? Is your territory greater than theirs? You hope to postpone the evil day. In fact, you bring about a year of violence. You lie on beds inlaid with ivory and sprawl on your couches. You eat lamb from the flock and veal from calves fattened in the stall. You strum on your harps and, like David, try out new musical instruments. You drink wine by the bowlful and anoint yourselves with the finest oils, but you do not grieve over the ruins of Joseph. Therefore, you will be the first to go into exile, and the feast of sprawlers will be over. Yahweh has sown by his life. I hate the proud city of Jacob. I hate its palaces. I will hand over the city and all that fills it. In those days, if 10 people are left in one house, they shall die. Their kinsman, will lift the corpses and bring the bones from the house. Then he will say to his comrade at the back part of the house, "Are there any more?" The other will say, "No, but hush, we must not mention the name of Yahweh. For this is Yahweh's command, the great house shall crumble, and the small house fall to pieces. Do horses run on craggy cliffs? Does anyone plough the sea with oxen? Well, you have turned the rights into a poisonous plant, and the sentences of the court into wormwood. You rejoice about unimportant matters when you say, "Are we not winners once more?" Yet I am stirring up against you, Israel, a nation that will oppress you from the pass of Hamath to the brook of Arabah. Amos chapter 7. This is what Yahweh showed me. He was forming a swarm of locusts just as the late sowing began to come up. It was the second growth which follows the king's mowing. When they were about to finish devouring all the crops of the land, I said, "Yahweh, forgive. How shall Jacob survive, small as he is?" Yahweh repented and said, "It shall not happen." This is what Yahweh showed me. He was calling for burning heat. It consumed the great deep and was consuming the land. I said, "Yahweh, stop. How shall Jacob survive, small as he is?" Yahweh relented and said, "This too shall not happen." This is what Yahweh showed me. He was standing beside a wall with a plumb line in his hand. The Lord asked me, "Amos, what do you see?" I answered, "A plumb line." Then the Lord said, "Behold, I am measuring my people Israel with a plumb line. I will forgive them no more. The high places of Isaac are to be made desolate, and the sanctuaries of Israel laid waste. For I will arise, sword in hand, against the family of Jeroboam." Amaziah, the priest of Bethel, then sent word to King Jeroboam of Israel, "Amos is conspiring against you in the very center of Israel. What he says goes too far. These are his very words. Jeroboam shall die by the sword, and Israel shall be exiled from its land." Amaziah then said to Amos, "Off with you, seer! Go back to the land of Judah. Earn your bread there by prophesying, but never again prophesy at Bethel, for it is a king's sanctuary and a national shrine." Amos replied to Amaziah, "I am not a prophet or one of the fellow prophets. I am a breeder of sheep and a dresser of sycamore trees. But Yahweh took me from shepherding the flock and said to me, 'Go, prophesy to my people Israel.' Now hear the word of Yahweh, you who say, 'No more prophecy against Israel, no more insults against the family of Isaac.' This is what Yahweh says, 'Your wife shall be made a harlot in the city. Your sons and daughters shall fall by the sword. Your land shall be divided up and given to others, and you yourself shall die in a foreign land, for Israel shall be driven far from its land.'" Amos chapter 8. Yahweh showed me a basket of ripe fruit and asked, "Amos, what do you see?" I replied, "A basket of ripe fruit." Then Yahweh said to me, "My people Israel, is ripe for destruction. I will no longer forgive them. The songs of the palace will become wailings on that day, says the Lord. Heaps of corpses everywhere, all cast out in silence. Hear this, you who trample on the needy, to do away with the weak of the land. You who say, when will the new moon or the Sabbath feast be over, that we may open the store and sell our grain? Let us lower the measure and raise the price. Let us cheat and tamper with the scales, and even sell the refuse with the whole grain. We will buy up the poor for money and the needy for a pair of sandals. Yahweh, the pride of Jacob, has sown by himself. I shall never forget their deeds. Shall not the land tremble because of this, and all who dwell in it mourn, while it rises up and heaves like the Nile and settles back again like the river of Egypt? Yahweh says, on that day I will make the sun go down at noon and darken the earth in broad daylight. I will turn your festivals into mourning and all your singing into wailing. Everyone will mourn, covered with sackcloth, and every head will be shaved. I will make them mourn as for an only son, and bring their day to a bitter end. Yahweh says, days are coming when I will send famine upon the land, not hunger for bread or thirst for water, but for hearing the word of Yahweh. Men will stagger from sea to sea, wander to and fro from north to east, searching for the word of Yahweh, but they will not find it. On that day, fair virgins and strong young men will faint from thirst. All the young people who swore by the God of Samaria and said, long life to the God of Dan, long life to the God of Beersheba, they shall fall, never to rise again. Amos chapter 9. I saw the Lord standing by the altar, and he said, strike the top of the columns, so that the beams shake and the roofs fall down on the heads of them all. Those who are left I will slay with the sword. Not one shall flee, not one shall escape. Though they dig down to the netherworld, my hand will take them from there. Though they climb up to heaven, I will bring them down from there. Though they hide on the top of Carmel, I will search them out there and take them. Though they hide from me in the depths of the sea, I will bid the sea serpent bite them. When they are led into captivity by their enemies, there I will command the sword to slay them. For I have set my eye upon them, not for help, but for harm. When Yahweh of hosts touches the earth, it melts, and all who dwell on it mourn. The earth rises up and heaves like the Nile, and settles back again like the river of Egypt. He has built heaven, his upper room, and established the dome of the sky over the earth. He summons the waters of the sea and pours them upon the face of the earth. Yahweh is his name. And now Yahweh says, are you Israelites more to me than the Ethiopians? Did I not bring Israel up from the land of Egypt, as I brought the Philistines from Caphtor and Aram from Kir? My eyes are upon your sinful kingdom. I wanted to destroy it from the face of the earth, but I cannot do away completely with the nation of Jacob, says Yahweh. This is what I have ordered. I will sift the nation of Israel among the nations, as one sifts with a sieve, letting no pebble pass through. All sinners among my people shall die. Those who say, evil will not reach or overtake us. On that day, I shall restore the fallen heart of David and wall up its breaches and raise its ruined walls and so build it as in days of old. They shall conquer the remnant of Edom and the neighboring nations upon which my name has been called. Thus says Yahweh, the one who will do this. Yahweh says also, the days are coming when the plowman will overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes overtake the sower. The mountains shall drip sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt. I shall bring back the exiles of my people Israel. They will rebuild the desolate cities and dwell in them. They will plant vineyards and drink their wine. They will have orchards and eat their fruit. I shall plant them in their own country, and they shall never again be rooted up from the land which I have given them, says Yahweh your God.